All right, so we're still working on the fourth task here, which is to make sure that the word adapter has the correct instructions to create each list item view. So that means first, we need to modify the word class so that the word adapter can tell if there is a valid image associated with the word or not. We've also provided a hint below the quiz if you need some help. And then we need to modify our word adapter class so that it can create list items that both contain images and ones that don't. And this way, the same word adapter class can be used across our different categories. I want to introduce you to a new concept that I hinted at in the last quiz. So there's a method that you can call to change whether a view is visible or not while the app is running. So for a given view object, as shown here in the view class, you can call the setVisibility method on it and pass in one integer input. So the possible inputs that we have are visible, invisible, and gone. And these may look like string values, but let's click in and see more. So clicking into visible, we see that's actually an integer defined in the view class, and it has an integer value of 0. Now this is how you would use the method in your code. Assume that we have a view stored in the variable named textView. We can call the setVisibility method on this textView object. And into this method, we pass in one input, which is the integer defined in the view class called visible. Now these are the different inputs to the setVisibility method. Now I won't tell you the exact behavior of these three states just yet. I'd like you to experiment or read the documentation to figure out what they mean on your own. These three visibility states are represented by three predefined integer values that the view class knows to expect and will know how to behave if it receives any of them. So if we were to pass in a random integer value, something like 2001, then the view class wouldn't know what to do with the view. So to summarize, the view class only recognizes these three numbers. So for example, if the method receives 0 as its input, the view knows that it should become visible. I want you to notice something about the variable in the documentation. So it says here, public, static, final, integer, visible. And we haven't seen static or final before. And both of these are Java keywords that have special meaning, and they're called modifiers. So the last time we heard about modifiers was when we talked about how words such as public and private were access modifiers used to control who can use a class variable or method. So because the visible variable is declared using the final keyword, the field can never change values. So think of 0 as being the absolute final value. So once the variable is initialized, if you try to assign it a different value, there's going to be a Java error saying it's not allowed. In Java, when a variable doesn't change values, it's called a constant. So you can think of it as constantly being the same value. When we have a constant value, the convention in Java is to give the variable a name in all capital letters. So the capitalization doesn't imply that we're yelling these variable names like visible, invisible, or gone. They're just capitalized as an easy way to help us indicate that they're constant values. All right, so the final keyword explains why this variable is a constant value and has its name in all capital letters. Now, what about this static keyword? Well, this means that this variable is associated with the class and not associated with an object instance of the class. So this is a very non-trivial concept, but we won't go into that detail now. All you need to know is that since the variable is public and static, you can go ahead and refer to this variable directly using the class name view followed by dot. So in this case, view.visible. So this dot notation means that this variable is part of the class that comes before the dot. So other examples are view.invisible or view.gone for these other states. After you've finished modifying the word adapter code, I'd like you to answer these two questions. So for this list item layout that we're using just for phrases, should the visibility of the image view be set to visible, invisible, or gone? And then for this list item layout, which we're going to use for all our other categories, should its image view be set to visible, invisible, or gone? And this is what the app should look like when you're done. So tapping into phrases, there are no images, but when we tap into the other categories, they all do have images.